Viewers, welcome back to English Only Zone. Today we are going to study another poem of class 12th ISC syllabus, and the name of the poem is Dover Beach. It is written by Matthew Arnold. Now, before studying the poem, let us know something about the poet, that is Matthew Arnold. He was an English poet and critic. He belonged to a very educated family. His father was a headmaster and his two brothers were literary professors, and one of them was a novelist too. He was also an inspector of schools for about 35 years and supported the concept of state regulated secondary education. Like we have a different board education in our country, like CBSE board, ICSE board, and then we have state boards also, like UP board, UK board, Bihar board. So he also supported the concept of this state regulated education. He was a writer who draws the attention of the readers towards contemporary social issues, about the issues which were very much in the limelight at that point of time when he used to write the poems. His style of writing is very simple and lucid, which we'll be able to understand through this poem. Now, let us study something about the poem. Before understanding the poem, let us have a brief intro about what the poem is. This poem is known as the honeymoon poem. Why? Because some parts of this poem were written. We believe that some part of this poem were written when Matthew Arnold went on his honeymoon with his newly wedded wife, and it also contains some sad elements. Beside being a honeymoon mood poem, it also contains some sad elements. And this Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold is a dramatic monologue. What is a dramatic monologue? When only one person is the speaker and the listener is not speaking anything. Only one person is speaking and the other person who is present there, who is listening to everything, but he or she is not speaking anything. So this is a dramatic monologue written in sonnet form, and we according to the words used in the poem, we can imagine that the poet Matthew Arnold is speaking to his partner, most probably his wife, because this poem was written during his honeymoon phase. And so we are assuming that he is talking to his wife in his poem. So the poem was written when he was on honeymoon with his newly wedded wife. It begins with a very calm, pleasant, and soothing description of Dover Beach. Dover is a city in England, is a place in England, and the beach of the sea near this city is known as Dover Beach. This city is famous for its white cliffs. Now, what are cliffs? Cliffs are small hills which have a very steep elevation. So, Dover Beach lies between England and France. There's a sea between England and France. The England side of the sea is known as the Dover Beach, and it also faces a city of France known as Kiel. The poet is on the England side and he is watching the coast of France. He is watching the French side, and the time is of night. Now, this poem also contains a very prominent issue of that time. As I told you that he was a contemporary social issue writer. So he wrote this poem about a very prominent, a very prevailing issue of that time, that was of declining religious faith. The faith in God, the faith in Christianity, of course, because he was a Christian, was declining, and he was much affected by this thing, and so he wrote about that thing in this poem. Okay, so let's not waste much time and let's move on to the theme of the poem. It refers to poor human condition, that how humans start fighting among each other, and they forget the religious values which are taught by God to us. The second is decreasing faith in Christianity. which I have already told you. There were many riots, there were many wars because of this decreasing faith, and then the uncertainty of love. In the last stanza of this poem, we will be able to understand why this is considered as the theme of this poem. The uncertainty of love. It can be understood well when we will read the last stanza. So I request you to go through the whole video so that you may not miss anything and understand it properly. Listen to it carefully and understand it. So this is the image of Dover Beach. This is the England side. You can see the cliffs with steep elevation. So these are the cliffs and this is the England side. The opposite side is the French side. Let's read the poem. The sea is calm tonight. Before I explain you the poem, I request you to keep a pencil in your hand, and of course you must be having your book also with you, so that if you find any word which meaning you do not know, so that you can write the meaning also in the book. The sea is calm tonight, the tide is full, the moon lies fair. Upon the straits on the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the midnight air. So now, here, the speaker, he describes the setting of the poem. He describes the starting, the view. He is using visual imagery and he is describing what he is seeing. He is saying the sea is calm tonight. The sea is calm, it's peaceful. It's the time of high tide. It's full moon night. The sun is shining brightly. And he is looking at the French coast to its shining light. So in the first few lines, he's saying the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. Gleams means shines. The light on the French coast shines. And then after shining for a long period of time, it is switched off. It is gone. The light is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Now his vision, when the light of the French coast has gone, his vision shifts from the French coast to his own side, that is the England coast, where he is standing. Now he starts looking at the cliffs of the England beach, and he says that the cliffs of the England, they are glimmering, they are shining, they are vast, they are very big cliffs out in the tranquil bay. Tranquil means a very peaceful bay. Now what is bay? Bay of Bengal, you all must have heard. Bay is a coast, is the part of that coast where the land gets a curve, जहाँ पर थोड़ा सा लैंड कर्व हो जाता है. बे ऑफ बंगाल में भी आपने देखा होगा लैंड कर्व होता है. तो कोस्ट का वो पार्ट लैंड का जहां पर वो कर्व लेता है, दैट इज नोन एज बे. सो ही सेज that the cliffs of the England, they are shining because of the light, because of the moonlight here. They are vast, very big, and they are present here in a very peaceful atmosphere. And then he says to his partner, his wife, come to the window, sweet is the night air. He calls his wife towards the window, and he asks her to stand along with him there. He asks her to come and stand with him there, and he says that the night air is very sweet. So you should come and stand here at the window. Now this stanza is further continued here. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling. At their return up the high strand, begin and cease and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow and bring the eternal note of sadness in. So he says that the land of France is moon blenched. It is filled with moonlight. And he says, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back. He further says that you hear the uh, voice of grating of pebbles. Now, what is grating here means? Uh, Grating is done in kitchen with that grater. Uh, it is winter season when we make gajar ka halwa. We grate carrots in that grater. So grating is that sound only, which is a bit of irritating sound. So he says that the pebbles, as it is a time of high tide, the pebbles are thrown by tide towards the beach, and then they are taken by the tide, and then they are thrown in the sea again. Again, the same pebbles are thrown to the beach, and again they are returned to the sea again. So the same pebbles are coming and going inside and outside again and again. And this is creating a noise, which it is creating a sound which is known as grating here. Grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling. The same I told you, waves bring the pebbles to the beach and then they take them back at their return up the high strand when the high tide is there. Begin and cease and then again begin. So this is repeated again and again for a plenty number of times with tremulous cadence slow and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Tremulous means trembling and cadence is variation in tone. The voice, the noise is variation. There is variation in the noise. It is trembling, but the same thing is repeating again and again. The same thing is repeated again and again with the trembling voice, with a trembling variation in tone. And because of this monotonous sound, it is done again and again. So it is creating a monotonous sound. It is creating a melancholy because it is repeated for quite a long period of time. And so the poet ends the stanza with a mood of sadness. He says that because of this repeated sound, I am feeling sadness. When the same thing is repeated, it becomes monotonous. It doesn't look good. So he says, because of this repeated sound, I am becoming sad. So what we have studied in this stanza is that first the poet describes, he gives the visual imagery of the sea, of the view he is looking at, and then from the view, when he calls his wife to the window and he says, you can experience the night air, how sweet it is. And then he says that the sea meets the moon blanched land, the sea meets the land which is filled with moonlight, and then his concentration shifts to the voice of the pebbles, the noise created by pebbles, the grating roar created by pebbles when they are thrown by high tide towards the beach and then they are taken back to the sea. And he says that because of this repeated monotonous sound, he is feeling sadness. Now, let's move on to the next stanza. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. He says, now who is Sophocles? Sophocles was a very famous playwright and a philosopher. So he says that he remembers that once Sophocles, he also heard the same sound while he was sitting on the beach of Aegean, which brought to his mind the sadness which the poet is feeling now. He is recalling that once Sophocles, he also felt the same sadness when he was sitting on the beach of Aegean years back, decades back. And because of that only, he started feeling sad. He was underwhelmed by observing the retreat of seawater, the coming back of seawater. So, for a philosopher, for a writer, he was very much prone to hear and understand and to relate with the music. And so he got sad with that music. So he says that it happens, the same things is repeated as history repeats. Decades back, years back, Sophocles felt that, and now, decades after that, he is also feeling what Sophocles had felt earlier. He is experiencing it now when they are standing far away from Aegean by the northern sea. So, if we go line by line, he says Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean Sea and it brought into his mind. And because of that sound, his mind had some uh, turbid ebb. What is ebb? Ebb is the retreating of water, going back of water towards the sea, going back of tide towards the sea. So he felt that humans are also becoming miserable. He understood the condition of humans. We find also in the sound a thought. Now here the poet Matthew Arnold has used the word we. Now we here represents to him Matthew Arnold and to his wife. So he says that we find also in the sound a thought. In the same sound, in the same repeated sound, they both are also finding the same thought of sadness when they are hearing it years after on a very far away northern sea. This Dover beach, this sea is in the northern side of Aegean, and he says that years after Sophocles, they both are also experiencing the same situation, the same feelings as Sophocles had experienced. I hope you have understood this stanza also. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Now, what is girdle? Girdle is a belt worn around waist, especially by female. So the speaker says that human face was once covered like water of the sea, everywhere all around, like sea water covers all the space now. So similarly, human faith was also covered like sea water everywhere around. Everywhere we could find faith in human beings, faith of humans towards their religion. But now he can only hear the sad declining roar or the voice of the faith, which is day by day decreasing like the night wind. As the night wind decreases, as the night wind retreats, he can only hear its melancholy. Melancholy means sadness, long withdrawing roar that somewhere far away the faith is declining and he could experience it. He can hear it from a distant shore. It is making the vast edges of the sea fearful. The vast edges, the vast corners of the sea, it is making them fearful and showing the real face of the pebbles. Naked shingles of the world means it is showing the real face of the pebbles to the world. So in this stanza, the poet Matthew Arnold showed the declining religious faith, the declining faith in Christianity, of course, because he was a Christian. So he has brought to our notice how the faith is declining, how it once filled like sea water everywhere around, but now it is declining day by day. This has brought misery and gloom to the mankind. The speaker is saddened by this thinking. The poet is saddened. Now, in the next stanza, that is the last stanza of the poem, he says, "Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy nor love, nor light nor certitude, nor peace nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night." So, in the last stanza, the poet says, the poet, he now tries to forget all the depressing thoughts which he had in the second and third stanza. And so he focuses his attention towards his wife and he says to her, "Our love, let us be true to one another." He requests her to be true to one another, to be true to each other. He says, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams. He says that the world is like a land of dreams. We all are born with some dreams. We all have some dreams. So this world is like a land of dreams. It is so various. It is so different, so beautiful, so new. But it really neither has any joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude. Certitude means feeling of certainty, nor peace, nor help for pain. If you are feeling pain, nobody is going to come to help you. You will find no peace in this world. There is no certainty. There is no light. It's all dark everywhere. There is no love. There is no joy. It's just sadness. So, although this world is like a land of dreams, it is beautiful, it is new, it is different in every aspect. But in reality, you cannot find any peace, any happiness, any joy, any help, any certainty in this world. And we are here as on a darkling plain. So he says we are here on a darkling land. We are here on a dark land, a very painful land where there we cannot find any happiness. Swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight. Here, this land is swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight. Here, the speaker wants to say that he wants to represent or reflect about a battle which was fought at night, and the armies, because of darkness, they killed the army, the attacking army. Because of darkness, they killed the soldiers of their own side. They killed the soldiers of their own army. So that's why it was written that it was swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight. There was confusion everywhere, and the soldiers killed their own soldiers, where ignorant armies clash by night. So, in other sense, we can also understand it in this manner that we are confused and ignorant. And armies here may also represent a group of people who lack faith among each other, who are corrupt, who are not ashamed of doing any wrong. And he says that they are fighting continuously to prove that they are right. So we both need to be true to each other, and we both need to understand each other. We both should stand by each other. And in the arms or in the hours of struggle, in the hours of pain, we should be together. So this poem also reflects togetherness, companionship. So the poet shows sadness because of lack of religious faith in this poem, which lead to making of wrong decisions just on the name of religion. We can make wrong decisions also. During that time when this poem was written, Britain was experiencing a fast change in its socio-economic background. Industrial development has affected the faith of people in their respective religion. And so, in the end, the poet Matthew Arnold asks his partner to be true to each other, to have faith, trust in each other, so that they may not be affected much by the happenings in the world. And if they both will be together, they can fight with any wrong which is happening in the world. So, in the theme, in the last point, the uncertainty of love. That was the last point now, where I told you that I will be explaining you after the last stanza of the poem. So this uncertainty of love, he was somewhere in his heart, maybe he was uncertain that whether his love will be proved true or no, because his was a love marriage. Theirs was a love marriage, when the girl's father was also not allowing them to get married, but somehow they both managed to convince him. So there was uncertainty also in the mind of Matthew Arnold that maybe their love may not be proved true. So here he is also reflecting his feelings by saying to his wife to be true to each other and to prove the truthfulness or the loyalty of their love to each other. So this was all in the poem. I know it was a bit difficult poem, a bit tricky one, which starts from a very happy or honeymoon mood, and gradually its mood changes to a very sad one. And in the end, he again realizes that he was talking to his wife and why he has turned his mood to a sad one. And so he removed himself from all the distractions, from all the unpleasant things, and then he talks to his wife to be respectful to each other. So if you have understood the poem, give a thumbs up to it, and if there are some doubts left, uh, do not hesitate to write in the comment box, and I will be very happy to answer you. Thank you so much for watching.